On this episode of inCycle, we're in the Big Apple with the trailblazing crit racer, Justin Williams.
If you give kids something that they can look at, a person that they can aspire to be or they admire, that's the first step in getting people into a sport.
We're at the Vuelta a San Juan to hear about the rise of cycling in Argentina.
Argentina has that over some of these other countries in South America. They have that history in cycling with the track program, so they need just that boost.
But first, we're with defending Tour de France champion, Geraint Thomas.
Can't change his tire. Hey, through me. Yes. Do you want to try and get this tire off? It's so tight. Two skylines to change it.
The Olympics is, I guess, the next massive goal. And after that, I'll be on the road then and see how far I can go with that. And obviously keep trying to improve there on all the aspects really, like my time trialing and climbing and things like that. And then, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and hopefully find out what I'm really best at and go for that really. So, 'cause it'd be amazing to wear the yellow jersey at the Tour. That's definitely a goal.
Not many people would have predicted back in 2010 that Geraint Thomas would one day wear that yellow jersey all the way to Paris. But now the Team Ineos rider finds himself bidding for back-to-back Tour de France titles. However, with his preparations repeatedly disrupted by both crashes and illness, his chances of accomplishing that feat are being called into question.
There we go. He has come to a standstill. Doors open, stepping off the bike. And into the car. And out of the race.
I don't really read too much about what people say about me anyway, because I just stick into my own little bubble and just concentrate on myself. But I don't know. Some people think I don't care just because I'm pretty chilled and relaxed, but I don't really care what they think anyway. Don't feel any extra pressure at all. Just my own sort of ambitions really, which is always the same. So I don't feel like I have to prove anything now. I've done the biggest thing I can do in the sport really. So it's just try to get back to as best shape as possible and then see what happens. Obviously I can only control how well I'm going. It's a lot of other strong bike riders out there, so that'll affect the race really. So just look after number one and just worry about myself.
Despite a disappointing 2019 so far, Thomas has shown signs of his Tour-winning form in recent months. A strong third-place finish at the Tour de Romandie has helped show Team Ineos he's not too far off target.
Geraint Thomas this week has shown a return to form. He's back in business. 8th on the day, 33.13 down. He doesn't look happy with it, but I think over the course of the week, it's been Geraint Thomas back with the big boys.
Yo creo que los principales rivales que nosotros tenemos, ¿no?, son mucho de nuestras características, ¿no?, que son buenos contrarrelojistas también. Yo creo que el año pasado mostramos estar muy sólidos en la montaña, muy fuertes, y yo creo que nos va muy bien el recorrido.
Every tour is hard. I think the time trial last year, lengthwise, wasn't much different to this year. And we go highs at times, but that hasn't really affected me in the past. So it's always the same. You try and be as light as possible without losing any power. So it's the same. I think too much is made of it sometimes. Tour's a tour. Like every race is hard, so every Grand Tour is hard. So.
With Chris Froome out of the Tour following his horror crash, Thomas goes into the race as joint leader with Egan Bernal, hoping to join an even more elite club.
Well, it'd be amazing. It'd probably be be bigger than the first, because I think it's so rare to win your first tour and then back it up the next year. Last person to do that was Geraint, so it shows how special it is.
Arguably the fastest finisher in US domestic cycling, Justin Williams is using his success to forge a path towards greater diversity in the sport. A former member of the Trek Livestrong development team alongside the likes of Taylor Phinney, the 30-year-old LA native with Belizean roots has dominated the American criterium scene in recent years. His journey hasn't been without its struggles, though, as inCycle found out when it spent time with the trailblazer at the recent Harlem Skyscraper Classic in New York.
After Livestrong, it was like this, like I had learned a couple of hard lessons, and I had been on the US national team, had spent some time in Europe, and it was just like such a crazy culture shock for me coming from like South Central LA. I had realized that it wasn't something that I necessarily would thrive in, or I didn't know if I wanted to commit my life to being the European type of guy and picking up my whole life, leaving my family and going to Europe. My whole life I had been taught that the only way you make it is in Europe. So I came home and I went to college and I was like, all right, like I guess I gotta live this normal life. I guess my cycling career is over because I'm not gonna go, pro tour. And luckily I just had, some really good guidance and I had the motivation of my younger brother, Corey. I was done with the racing side of it, and he was like, I'm gonna do a year on this MRI team, like, just come ride with me. And yeah, I just didn't train with the power meter, I just would ride with them all the time, and that ended up being one of the best years I had. Between Livestrong and going through those middle years where I didn't know if I wanted to do it, I didn't know what success was for me in the sport if it wasn't Europe. Finding how I could be effective and how I could help other people without being on that level, that became more important to me, and that started with helping my younger brother and the fulfillment that came from watching him win races, watching him smile when the team got the job done. That basically just evolved into what we are now and where we're going.
Where Williams is going became a little clearer this year as he took the step of setting up his own team, Legion of Los Angeles.
Legion is a team that I put together to promote diversity in the sport, create this home where people can feel comfortable with being themselves. I felt like I had to do a lot of toning down of who I am as a person to fit in, and I felt like there was such a lack of diversity when I was coming up that I didn't feel like I could be myself. So I really wanted to create this platform where, people can come in, kids could come in, and the environment was going to be a very American environment. And we're going to just do things that made sense for us. I would love to see more color in the sport. And you have the Colombians, you have a lot of the guys that are coming from other places, but I think that with black riders especially, and particularly just really American cyclists, I think there's a hard time fitting in just because the culture is so different. And hopefully in the future we see more people that are more comfortable with joining the sport. You never know what's going to happen if you make something accessible and acceptable. You never know what's going to happen with the people the talent that could potentially join the peloton. I have a lot of friends that I grew up with that were amazing talents on the bike. And once you get out of the junior ranks in America, there's this massive gap to pro level cycling. And we kind of want to just fill that. I don't ever want to be a pro tour team. And if it happens, then that's great, but it's not in my immediate goals. I want to be a team where kids can come to and learn how to ride in the field, learn how to read a race, learn how to get a bottle from a car. It's these basic skills that I think the Euros have a system of how that works and we just don't. And we want to create that bridge to what a pro level cyclist is. Crit racing is the heart of American racing. I think it's something that's been neglected for a really long time just because of Lance Armstrong and a lot of the guys wanting to just idolizing European racing. And I get it, it's great. Like, I love European racing, I watch it all the time, but I think for us in our culture, it just, the 100-mile, 150-mile races, it just doesn't work here. But what we do have is like this really high intensity circuit racing that works so well for American racing. Anyone that I've ever taken to a crit, doesn't matter if they've never seen a bike race before, they're super pumped, super excited. They love every minute of it. And I think that's something that we need to utilize a lot more, just because it takes a lot more than legs to win a criterium. You got to be great at bike handling. You got to understand what's happening in the race. You got to be good at momentum control. There's so many little you got to pick the right tire pressure. There's more dimensions to it. And that's what I really, really love and appreciate about a criterium racing. On top of that, you get these amazing crowds that are just out screaming because they've never seen, 100 cyclists rolling around corners, like bumping each other and touching each other. And I think there's something that fits the intensity that is America really well, and crit racing is the way that I think our racing needs to go. I think that's where the money is, and I think that's where the future is. If you give kids something that they can look at, a person that they can aspire to be or they admire, that's the first step in getting people into a sport. If no one looks like you when you go out to a bike race, or if you see a bike race on TV and no one looks like you, it's not something that I think you'll believe that you can do. And that's something that we also want to focus on. Us being this team that is promoting diversity is great, but us getting on the podium and standing on the top step from time to time is even better. And I think that's where it's really important for what we're doing, because if we can be this face that's winning races and showing younger kids from different demographics that this is possible, you can do it. All these things come with bike racing. I think that's like a really big step in the right direction for getting them to maybe consider bike racing as a viable option for the future.
In recent years, cycling's traditional order has been overturned by a South American wave. That upheaval has, by and large, come from Colombia, the continent's first cycling superpower. With the emergence of the Vuelta a San Juan as one of the most important early season races, could Argentina be part of a new South American cycling revolution? inCycle headed there earlier this season to investigate.
Guys like Tom Boonen in the past, Nairo Quintana, some of these guys prefer starting their season in a race like this that doesn't have all the hype and all the pressure of a World Tour event like the Tour Down Under. So here it's kind of more of a way for those teams to step into the season, not have all the pressure of World Tour points.
The Vuelta a San Juan has become a good option for the creme de la creme of riders to kick off their seasons. And for local riders, it's become the focal point of their year. Boasting good road conditions and testing mountain passes, the area makes up an integral part of the Argentine cycling landscape.
I have only 2 roads in my city. It is in the middle of Patagonia. There is very, very flat. So, when I start, I did only time trial because it's not so many cyclists. So I do training alone, only time trial. But after in the national team in juniors, they put me on the track because it's a lot of racing on the track.
Bueno, por ahí la diferencia entre Argentina y Europa es más que nada las montañas. Acá tenemos montañas, pero no muchas. Donde vivo yo, en Buenos Aires, de donde vengo, es todo plano, no hay subidas. Así que por eso también venimos a hacer ruta acá. Salen más corredores de la pista. En realidad la cultura al principio del ciclismo argentino fue esa, la de entrar en la pista, y es la primera escuela.
While the track has dominated development of young Argentine riders, it has still launched the careers of Sepulveda and Richesi. Now, with a top-level international stage race at the heart of the racing calendar, it's hoped there can be a shift of focus to the road.
Argentina has that over some of these other countries in South America. They have that history in cycling with the track program, so they need just that boost. Some of the companies that are watching this race will get more excited about cycling. Perhaps they will fund a professional continental second division team that can compete over in Europe, or they'll help fund some of these third division continental or national teams to go over into Europe.
As for all South Americans, the prospect of racing in Europe is seen as a necessity for any ambitious Argentine. Understandably, it's a daunting challenge for any young racer hoping to make it to the top level.
No es fácil para el ciclista sudamericano, digamos, emigrar, ir a correr en ruta a Europa, porque somos tenemos un carácter particular, ¿no? Somos más afectivos, estamos más pegados por ahí a la familia, y la distancia para nosotros siempre fue muy dura. Hablo tanto como para mí como para la mayoría de los sudamericanos también, porque tenemos más o menos todos el mismo carácter. Así que por ahí es por eso los corredores decidían más quedarse en Argentina o en Sudamérica y se dedicaban más a la pista, que era lo que les daba su fruto. Pero bueno, de a poquito fuimos saliendo también para la ruta, y bueno, ahora esperamos de continuar también por ese camino.
When I was in France, this was difficult for me because I was young. All my friends and all my family was in Argentina, so for me this was difficult. Of course, for training was better because better roads is a lot of roads and this, but my first season I was missing my family, friends, so this. Now it's better because I'm professional since 7 years, so now for me it's more normal to live in Europe. Also now I like to live in Europe, but I remember my first year this was difficult.
With such challenges facing up-and-coming riders, those at the heart of the sport know how important investment in races like San Juan can be in the development of cycling in Argentina.
Bueno, esta situación de competencia UCI Pro Tour con 2.1 nos da la posibilidad de generar un entusiasmo en las categorías inferiores como los juniors y sub-23, a aumentar el caudal de ciclistas, y nos da la posibilidad de tener aún más cantidad de talentos. Entonces eso nos permite encontrar el ciclista justo y necesario para el ciclismo europeo o intercontinental. Así que lo que necesitamos son más competencias de este tipo, participación de este tipo para ganar experiencia, para ganar un poco más de renombre y así lograr sponsors nuevos que quieran sostener y valorizar el trabajo que se hace en Argentina para acceder al mundo profesional.
You know, a win here or a good placing here can help launch you to the top. And in this case with Fernando Gaviria, a Colombian South American rider, that's a yellow jersey in the Tour de France, 2-stage wins. He beat Mark Cavendish in the stage 1 sprint, and we all thought, who the heck is this guy? And then he did it again, head-to-head with Mark Cavendish. And then his career was launched. Midway through that 2015 season, Patrick Lefevre from Quick Step signed Fernando Gaviria, who we really only knew a little bit from the track.
That pressure to be noticed, however, has led to some taking a step too far to catch the eye at the Vuelta a San Juan. This year's King of the Mountains, Daniel Zamora, returned a positive EPO sample at the race, while 2018 overall winner Gonzalo Najar is currently serving a 4-year suspension. But there is hope. 19-year-old Oscar Bazán is part of a new generation of riders hoping to change this checkered image.
4 años que corro en bici, y en mis comienzos hacía pista también y mountain bike incluso. El año pasado ya tuve la oportunidad de viajar al Star Cycling, un equipo con licencia boliviana, pero bueno, continental, y hacemos toda la temporada en Bélgica. Pero bueno, siempre la meta es seguir creciendo. Bueno, sin duda ya el nivel es muy alto, Las carreras son incluso de 4 hasta 5 horas he llegado a correr y esa es una de las diferencias grandes que noto a comparación de acá de Argentina. Allá hay unas carreras que se llaman Pro Kermés, esas para mí son una de las más duras. Pero bueno, más que eso también la calidad de corredores que sin duda es lo mejor para mí.
Like Bazan, Nicola Tivani's on the lips of many in the know as a rider to watch. In 2018, he was a stagiaire for UAE Team Emirates in the World Tour. A victory in stage 6 of this year's Vuelta a San Juan did much to confirm Tivani's glittering future.
Creo que el triunfo afirma que estamos en un buen camino con la juventud, con el futuro del ciclismo argentino, y eso nos da mucho deseo y mucha fuerza para continuar en el proyecto que tenemos de poner más corredores en Europa en el nivel profesional.
That's all for now, but do join us next time. Until then, keep up to date on social media.